We show a little film clip of 3 minutes. If you want to take it, please sit somewhere here.
तत्सवितुर्भरमरूपं ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपये सत्येन दीपये ॐ तत्सवितुर्भरमरूपं ज्योतिः परस्य धीमहि यन्नः सत्येन दीपये सत्येन दीपये
सत्यमयी Savitri and Shraddhavan have returned to earth, rediscovered each other, living, and they are on their way, returning as it becomes evening, returning to the hermitage. And then we read last week how suddenly there's a noise, a growing noise of many voices and people. And finally they will see this great company of people with glittering golden headdresses and striding in front, seeing clearly, is King Dyumatsena. And next to him, Satyavan's mother. Lo, she replied, awakened to the meaning of my heart, that to feel love and oneness is to live, and this the magic of our golden change is all the truth I know or seek, O sage. Wondering at her and her two luminous words, westward they turned in the fast gathering night. So this is the Mahavakya of Savitri. No? Mysterious message. He's asked her, what is the power? No? And this is her reply. I've awakened to the meaning of my heart. And that meaning is that to feel love and oneness, that's really to live. And this knowledge or this feeling is the magic which could bring about this golden change. That's all the truth I know. That's all the truth I look for, O sage. No big words, nothing so simply, and yet they're so mysterious and suggestive, these words. So that whole crowd of people, they don't understand what she has said. They are wondering at her, at Savitri, and at these words which are so full of light that they are difficult to understand. So the whole company turns westward. They are on the northern side of the foothills of the Himalayas. And in order to return to the kingdom of Shalva, to the capital city of Shalva, they have to now turn westward. And the last section will tell us about that return journey.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Do I need a microphone? Yeah, you think so? I think you all know me. I'm Helmut. Welcome in Savitri, Bhavan. Welcome to our little ceremony. It's not only about Shraddhavan's work, especially the last one, which she concludes today with the 12th volume, The English of Savitri, but it's also about Shraddhavan's birthday, which is today. It would have been her 81st birthday, which we could, her 80th, which still could celebrate last year, but today she can't be anymore with us and autograph her copies or things like that. I was with Shraddhavan for 45 years. And when I came to Auroville in 79, my English was very rudimentary. Shraddhavan said, "Oh, that's okay, you will learn it by reading Savitri." And that's actually what happened, because at that time she organized Savitri study circles, because we came across that all the books of Auroville, and especially Savitri Bhavan, found it was more difficult than others in a way, but in a way very, very interesting, and groups formed to read. And out of this, a more institutionalized group came up, the English of Savitri. It's a bit of a mystery why Shraddhavan called it the English of Savitri, but I guess she wanted just to stay with the words of Auroville and explain it there in order to avoid misunderstandings, and she didn't want to become an interpreter or authority on this kind of thing at that time. So out of this institutionalized English of Savitri series, which took place first under the banyan tree at Savitri Bhavan, until today it takes place in the very room we are in. And there was, that's what people say, not even one single week of a disruption. What is it, since the 80s. So this institution of Savitri Bhavan has more or less grown around this Savitri study circle with the help of very much Bhavan, who was the scribe for Savitri in the 40s. So Auroville dictated to him, but also, of course, through the generous grant of the government of India, so that we could somehow successfully develop this complex, but also with lots of contributions by Indians and from people around who supported that project. The English of Savitri, the last volume, which is released today, was still finished by Shraddhavan before she passed away. And now we could print it. And there's a tremendous work involved, of course. There's especially somebody needed to change the colloquial talk into a book so that we can read in a book. And this is mainly because of Rema. Is she here, Rema? Yes. And of course, Dana Lakshmi, who organized and coordinated and also is very much involved now in the Tamil edition of it. And there is this Kirit Thakkar, who has published already several Gujarati versions and translations. And there is, who has especially printed this series, this 12 series, there's Mr. Jayant Patel from the US in Connecticut, who has financed more than 80% of the cost of this. The only thing I can do now is I pass it on to Alok, whom I would like to open one of these books and distribute a couple of copies, to complementary copies. And maybe I should announce that another book release will take place at the 9th on Friday, which is Ananda Reddy's book at the same place at 4:30. If you are interested, please come, hopefully in the same big number.
They are the classes that Anand had taken here. They are coming out as books now, like Shraddhavan's older classes. This is going to be book 1, Canto 1, 2 and 3 of book 1.
I forgot one name, which I was found. This series, the English of Savitri, these sessions, after some time, somebody had the idea and immediately went in realizing it of recording audio-visually. And this was Sung Hee from Korea. Is she here? Where is she? Oh, Sung Hee from Korea, yes, out there. Mainly through her effort, this book version could be established on the base of her recordings.
Okay. Keeping the cover intact.
Open it. This small scissor. Somebody has something sharp on that? It's a book.
Let the first copy be here.
Yeah. That's right.
So then we have a couple of books. This goes to Alok.
Thank you.
Oh, this is Nami. Nami was got from the bus. Dana. And Sung Hee. Come down.
Just. Yes. Actually, words fall short and they can never do justice to someone like Shraddhavan. I remember in one of our conversations with Huta, the mother says, there are two kinds of souls, one who are caught in the net of ignorance and falsehood and they are struggling to find a way out. They're looking for doors of escape, and they try to escape first into the different alleys of the world, only changing fields of ignorance. And after much beating, they look for a door, probably which will take them out of the fields of ignorance. But there are other souls who are conscious of their mission and come down consciously to struggle and battle against the forces of falsehood and ignorance. The mother says, I call them heroic souls. And at least to my heart, to my intuitive sense, there is not even an iota of doubt that Shraddhavan belonged to the latter category. She was definitely a child with a mission, of course, child of the mother, and the enormous work that got done through her is something phenomenal. And in India, of course, we would call them as vibhutis. So definitely she was one of those who came for this wonderful work. Personally, I'm grateful for the wonderful work she has done for Savitri in service of the mother. This is something amazing. And though we are releasing the book today, I'm sure this will have for ages to come, for times to come, because Savitri is the future. As the mother said that all else is a preparation, Savitri is the message. It is the future. Maybe we are not yet ready for the future. So at the end of every age, the divine hands over a scripture to navigate us through the journey, like the Gita was handed over at the end of Dwapar. And at the end of Kali Yuga, as we go towards the new Satyug, we have Savitri, and works of Satyavan is something which is going to help mankind in making Savitri a lot more accessible and easier. So this is one part, and second is I remember those, I can't just help remembering the great privilege and an honor that she was in Desiree in the ashram atmosphere during her last few weeks, and her last birthday was celebrated there. Especially I remember the last day. I won't call it the last day because words like departed, death, life has no meaning for someone like Shraddhavan. They live forever, not just in memories, but they live. They are conscious, I'm sure. She is there around, consciously receiving all this and enjoying in the mother's lap in her heart. But I remember the last day when suddenly she was otherwise doing well and suddenly her health took a dip. She was sort of what can be called as breathless. And after doing whatever could be done, I just asked her that, would you like to be shifted to a higher facility, medical? And what a smile after many days, such a beautiful smile. She used to smile, but that particular day her smile made me feel that this is one of those smiles which comes straight from the soul, which is conscious and has taken a decision. And with that smile, she was very clear, no, she wants to be here. And she, of course, left the body in the ashram atmosphere. I don't think these are coincidences. Nothing is a coincidence at one level. But one of the things that I remember is that she wanted that spirit of oneness, that different groups connected with Shri Auroville come together. And she tried in her own way while she worked here in several ways actually. But even in her departure, she became kind of a bridge. Her consciousness joined at some level, at some occult level, the two great sources which are going to be the perennial founts of the new life, the ashram and Auroville. So all my gratitude, of course, to her and to the Divine Mother for creating such wonderful human beings whose life inspires, whose work inspires, and it leaves a stamp upon us humans. Thank you so much. If anyone has anything to share with regard to their own personal reminiscences, I think it's okay, Helmut. So maybe Kavita, you can break the ice and
me, she is my mother, and I was blessed to be with her. Thank you.
Anybody else? I assume you all knew her.
Yes.
I feel very lucky to be here and to express publicly my gratitude for the years that I was able to be in Shraddhavan's classes. On this day, I would also remember Meera Jyoti, who was a great supporter of Savitri Bhavan. I'm wondering if anyone here was there at the reading room on the day the little bird came in during the Sunday morning English session, Savitri session. Was anyone else there when that little bird came inside the room? It was during a Sunday morning class. Yes, I have the, okay, if no one else was there, but if I want to compare notes, because that was a very special memory for me, a major lesson, because I'm sitting there and I hear all of this titter, 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 everybody's laughing, and I'm saying, why can't people be more disciplined? We are reading Savitri, why not have more respect? And then I look up at Savitri's, at Shraddhavan's words, she has turned, hello? And I can't remember what she said to this little bird. So you've come to us, and I thought, wow, you know? And the person sitting next to me got a photograph of the bird and Shraddhavan. And I learned a lesson that day I will never forget. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I also want to express that in all my Life Divine and Savitri books, and I have not only notes from your classes, sir, but from Shraddhavan's classes, I just have notes of the stories she would tell to make things easier. And I will just say one more thing. So it was in the Life Divine class, and we were struggling over some questions about the nature of existence and reality and quantum mechanics and I don't know what. And the little note, you know how the chapters are in the Life Divine. And for me, it was years and years back. I was really struggling. So here, Shraddhavan says, on this particular question about actually the materialist question, if you can't see God, he doesn't exist, because only what we see exists. So she told this abbreviated, simplified story. The student who is at the university, also in the classes, contemplating these great life questions about the meaning of everything. And he's sitting under the tree in the courtyard of the university, and he's pondering all of this, and he said, then how can this tree continue to be if there's no one about in the court? And the next day he comes in, he notices there's a little note under the tree, and he reads the note, "Dear Sir, I am always about in the court. Yours faithfully, God."
Well, I will share something of which I think no one in this audience had the privilege. That is to say, when she first came to Aspiration School in the late 70s and the early 70s. We were together in the Aspiration School. She was teaching English, and I had some such other role also. What I want to say is, in brief, although physically apart, a little distance, we have had the same journey. I mean, we have done the journey together. She has had to go through her own problems of Auroville and all that. That's not important. But as a teacher of English, then later on, after all the troubles of Auroville were quietened down, she came up with this idea of Savitri studies. And I've been with her since those days. As Helmut mentioned, this was the very hut, space of the hut. Well, I've been with her from those stages where there's not even the hut. The first study classes were under the coconut trees, the shadow, the shade of the coconut tree. Not the coconut, but other trees were there, palm. So that was the beginning of beginnings of the Savitri Bhavan. And we were very enthusiastic to start this study center. Then she promoted to a small hut. There again I contributed. And of course, after that there's been a long gap. But when the Savitri Bhavan came up, first there was a smaller room. There again I joined some classes at Savitri Bhavan. So on the level of the work, yes, we were together as much as possible. And then what's very interesting is, when she took to the study of Savitri, simultaneously I was doing the same thing at ashram. I had also taken up the study of Savitri, apart from the other books of Life Divine, Synthesis of Yoga, etc. So we were journeying together even in the study of Sri Aurobindo's works. I attended a couple of classes here when she used to take the Savitri classes. And then, interestingly, she started publishing these books, this series of books, the English of Savitri. For a long time, I asked myself, why did Shraddhavan choose this title, apparently so simple, the English of Savitri? When there are books with mighty titles, the mystic fire of Savitri or whatever the great, the adorable mother, there have been plenty of titles given to Savitri. But here is one which sounds much too simple, the English of Savitri. And then I got an answer from her own book, which I thought I should share with all of you, because many may be having the same question as mine, the English of Savitri. Is it because she was an English teacher that she wanted to teach English? But she was inspired to choose this title from a conversation of hers with Norman Dowsett, where Norman Dowsett told her that the mother had once told him that, of course, the Savitri for the psychic realization is a great book and all that. And then she says, even to improve English, reading of Savitri would be of great help. I think that's where she got the mantra, that even to improve English. Why did she take up the improvement of English? You see, there's so many symbolisms, interpretations and all that, and Helmut gave us the answer. She didn't want to be an interpreter, that's true. Because she has given one beautiful answer. She said, Sri Aurobindo has explained the mantra to have 4 levels. One is the Shabda, the real pronunciation, the how to pronounce the Sanskrit words, because all the Vedic shlokas and verses, they give a tremendous importance to the Vedic sound. almost, there have been plenty of stories, which this is not the time to tell you stories, where the sound is almost like a chemical, combination. If you put H2O and HO2, the whole damn thing is over. So like that, if you mispronounce one little Sanskrit word, there could be a calamitous result. So that was the importance of the Sanskrit pronunciation. And so she took up that little hint. That there must be a perfect pronunciation so that Savitri is pronounced rightly, the right rhythm. Because mantra is a rhythm. And then what we have in the Sanskrit, Vedas, Upanishads, Gita and all that, you may not understand the meaning, but the rhythm that carries over, and that's what, implants in your higher consciousness. Then there's a second level, that of the meaning of the word, the correct meaning. And Sri Aurobindo has taken a great amount of trouble to give us the right meaning of the Vedic words and the Sanskrit words of the Upanishads. Because there has been a lot of misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the meaning of the words. And that was, again, an effort of Shraddhavan. She has given at the third level is where you combine the meaning, the rhythm of the word, the sound, and then you go to a deeper meaning. And the fourth level is when you go beyond mind into a silence, a new intuition comes to you. You have the deepest meaning. What the mother once wrote to me is profound and magnificent meaning. So that's the fourth level. And Shraddhavan has wonderfully given us the first two levels. How to pronounce each other. You may think it's just English. But it's not just English. Each word has a perfect way of pronunciation. So you have to catch not just the iambic pentameter, and some people say, yes, I know iambic pentameter, it was the hour before the gods are awake. It's not that analysis. And then Shraddhavan has seen the way she takes the trouble of explaining each of those words. Because like in Sanskrit, many English words have also got many different layers of meanings. Which one to choose? And this is where Shraddhavan has been of great help. So the first and second were what Shraddhavan wanted to do through all these books. Volume 1 to volume 12. And then there's a third level where there are other great speakers like Natkanya and all of them who have given us the meaning with a rhythm, with a meaning and a deeper interpretation. Whatever it be, but I must tell you that without the first and the second level, which is revealed only in Shraddhavan, no one else has done that, at least the one that I have read. So it's a human service what she has done. It's an extraordinary contribution to Savitri readers. So all of us who would like to so-called understand, which is not understandable, still, let's not have a fancy that I want to understand Sri Aurobindo and read Sri Aurobindo. What the mother has told us, you also do, read a couple of pages of Savitri and meditate. This is exactly the same thing. We have to read a couple of pages because we must read it correctly, pronunciation correctly, find out the right meaning of the word because there are multiple meanings. And the third level, as the mother says, get into a silence and then you'll go beyond the mind and that meaning will be revealed to you in the silence. So I felt that the value of these books is immense. It's not just teaching English. It's not just correcting our English pronunciation. It adds an immense dimension to Savitri itself. And if you want to understand and read Savitri as a mantra, the first two steps cannot be forgotten or stepped over. And that's where I thank Savitri, Shraddhavan very much. And while she is doing that, simultaneously she had asked me to teach Savitri at Savitri Bhavan. And there I too went through many of the cantos and the books. And that's what I said next week on the 9th of this month, on Friday. It so happens that my first volume of Savitri, book 1, canto 1 and 2, they're just coming out now. So I thought it's a very beautiful coincidence that along with Shraddhavan, my great colleague, I'd also be releasing my book for all of you. And I personally invite all of you so that we can share this momentum of Savitri. So that's what I wanted as a personal touch, and yet I found a tremendous relevance for this book. So it's not just a release of a book, it is an endeavor. And as Shraddhavan beautifully pointed out, he wrote in a letter almost in a sad note, it may take a long time for people to understand Savitri and to accept it. And he gave a wonderful example of William Blake. He said he took 100 years. A mystic poet like William Blake, whom Shraddhavan called not just a mystic but a seer. A poet like William Blake took 100 years to be understood and accepted by the public. So he says, what about Savitri? So he says, I hope it will not be like William Blake. And especially in India, it will find a few admirers for acceptance. And that sentence hit me most. At least in India, he says, there will be a few who can take it up. And Shraddhavan falls in that few who have really done tremendous service and offered it to master and mother to spread this word of Savitri. So it is not just a birth, as Alok Pandey said, yes, it's a great birth, a mission, soul, but in the work of Sri Aurobindo itself, she is a part of the master plan of Savitri. So that's why she is not only my personal friend, we have traveled together, but as a soul, I know she belongs to the mothers and masters who work itself. Thank you so much.
Anybody else?
Good evening all. My name is Ram Narayan. Shraddhavan, it is a name given by the mother. And it is different than what she had, no? And it was her new birth even when she bore this name. And she lived for the meaning of her name. And once it happened, just in front of Sri Aurobindo's statue, I had a curious question. Because at that time it was happening in me, like all Indian names, like Gunavan, Punyavan, Satyavan. These are names to male character. And how come Shraddhavan gets a name of a male character? But then I asked her, how did mother give you a name which she would have given to them? No, mother gave the name not to the external person, but the soul character. And all the work she has done, she has lived for the name mother has given, what I felt. And this also I explained in the article that was published in the Mother India, and in the name of title of Shraddhavan, a true child of the mother. This is explained there. So today I found it is the right moment to say to all of you, thank you.
Anybody else? No? Alexander?
Ladies and gentlemen, since I'm a very recent addition to the Savitri Bhavan family, I can't really say that I've known much of Shraddhavan, but if you allow me, I would still like to share the memories of my first meeting with her and how I got to work in this place. That happened in 2018. And my older friend told me about Auroville, and particularly about this place, that it's the hub of learning, and why don't you visit it during your vacations? Why don't you look at it? Maybe later on you can be associated with it. The place conducts different studies, different activities, and it is directed by a person called Shraddhavan. So I asked, is he Indian? He said, it's not he, it's she, and it's a German. That's the information I got. And so I came over, I wrote about myself, and she gave me time to receive me. And it happened so that it was November 2018, and the very day, the very morning on which I arrived to see Shraddhavan, and the time was fixed by her. That was the morning when Savitri Bhavan cremated one more member of its family, Rosa from Moldova, who had spent several years here working. And so finally I got to see Shraddhavan and have a talk with her, and I felt extremely awkward. Just a couple of hours ago, she personally participated in the cremation of someone who was a colleague of many years and a friend. And here I am, completely unrelated person, having the first meeting with her. And I even offered her to postpone the meeting, let me go and come back later. She denied that. She said, no, it is not a problem, we can still talk. And even though I felt very awkward, her attitude, her smile, and her kindness reassured me. And we had our conversation. At that time, I didn't know that people in Auroville do not die. Officially, they proceed, as is mentioned in News and Notes. If people proceed to new levels of existence, and the work does not stop because of that. And last August, it happened so that when we were preparing a photographic exhibition on Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, when we were in the middle of this work, Shraddhavan departed. And even though it was very hard for many of us, it was still decided to go ahead with the exhibition, to open it, and the opening was scheduled 2 or 3 days after her demise. And there was an understanding, I guess, that she personally would not have liked the work of Savitri Bhavan, her creation, to stop, even because of her absence. And that was quite a lesson for me, that first meeting when she went ahead, with my conversation with her, despite the loss of her colleague, and later on our own project going ahead despite her absence. Even though I know Shraddhavan very little, whatever little I know allows me to agree that she was the embodiment of the ideal of Auroville. According to the Mother, the growth in Auroville is not measured by the amount of money one has, but by the amount of responsibilities that one accepts. And whatever little of Shraddhavan I saw allows me to say that yes, she has grown, and her growth was measured by the higher and higher responsibilities that she took upon herself. Founding this institution maintaining it, developing it, and then writing 12 volumes of the English of Savitri. It's a tremendous responsibility, and somehow, personally, I wish to see her demise and consider it in terms of the same ideal. I don't know where she is and what she is now, but I wish to believe that she has assumed high responsibilities. She is taking care of other living beings, probably more of them, and she has embarked on much nobler projects somewhere else. And regarding her name, allow me to mention a line from the Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhavan apnoti param. The faithful attains the highest. Yeah, thank you very much.
Nobody else?
I suppose most of you know that I am Bhavan's little sister. So she has always been there. She's been there since day one. I can't remember life without her. My earliest memories of her running around. Somehow she was always in a blue dress and she had long black plaits. Big bows on the end. And I had very fair hair and had bunches of bows on. So we were very easy to tell apart, even though we were sisters. We lived in a very spiritual household. My father was a congregational minister with a very strong mystic tendency in his life. So our introduction to the divine and living according to the divine will was instilled in us from the very beginning. I think my father was very surprised in the end when it didn't take us down the road of becoming very straightforward young Christian women and carrying us away, all the way to South India in the pursuit of the dream of Auroville. He didn't live very long to see what that brought into our lives, because he passed away just 1 month before the mother did, actually. She was my big sister, and I followed her. Somehow she was the one who taught me everything. And after I left university, I was completely at a loss of what I was supposed to do, because I always felt in that society there like a square peg in a round hole. It was through her that I came to know about Auroville and about Mother, and very much about Sri Aurobindo and the teachings of Sri Aurobindo. Because she had met a German man who had been in the ashram briefly. She met him in the World's End pub in Fulham Road in London. But he was the most unlikely ambassador, but he was telling everybody he met about this new place. This was 1968, Auroville. And somehow we both ended up coming here together. We have walked extremely different paths in our lives together here in Auroville. But still, we were always sisters. And we were always, even in the days when we were both on opposite sides in different camps and everything, still we always managed to just be sisters. And when I look around at the work that she did here in Savitri Bhavan, I'm quite in awe, actually. I am really in awe. And I saw in her final days, when everything seemed to be being taken away from her, all that wonderful, sparkling mind, how she managed somehow to find the way to be in the right place at the right time and to pass in the most beautiful way. So even though there's some emotion, there's no sadness. But I'm so glad everybody's come here on her birthday to remember her and honor her, because she really deserves it. Thank you.
Gratitude to the mother. Respect to all the present souls here. I am from a remote village, remote area near Chilika of Odisha. First, my gratitude to the mother that she met me with Shraddhavan Devi. She once in visit to Matri Mandir, then after to Savitri Bhavan. I was watching the exhibitions there. After that, sometime, sorry, my English is very poor, not like you. A cool hand pressing my shoulder. I turned down, left, and saw Shraddhavan, and she is aspiring me, counseling me, that if you want to exhibit in your center, I request to some Ganguly in press, in the ashram press, he will give you a packet and you will exhibit it there. And she talked with me at that particular place for 15 minutes. Shraddhavan Lavati Jnanam, she also acquired all the knowledge of Sri Aurobindo's Savitri and delivered us in so simple. Before that, I have studied English, simple English, like Devendra Bora, Health in Your Hand, the acupressurist of Mumbai, the mother, MP Pandit. But later on, I marked this English of Savitri is so simple, even a little English reader can understand it. I have started my Savitri reading from book 6, much earlier in 1993, when I was past my graduation. And today I was more delighted when Dhanlakshmi Didi advised me, you must come, and the book going to be published, that is book 6 there. I was delighted and came here. Thanking you all. Thanking you all.
I want to have the last word, so I hope somebody else comes before her. Emma, will you say something about the pains of the word?
I don't want to claim the role of editor actually. It was copy editing. I started as a copy editor. I am a trained professional copy editor. So I just asked to do some volunteer work at Savitri Bhavan. So Shraddhavan asked me, at that time she was, only the first volume had come out, and she was working on the volume 2 of the English of Savitri series. So, and it was being serialized in the, Invocation Journal also. So she gave me some of the files she passed on to me and asked me to, what a copy editor does is check the grammar and sentence structure really. Because this transcripts are in conversational style, so you have to make it proper sentences to be published as a book. So that was the work she was doing it all alone. Everything she was doing alone. So she just asked me whether I can help. So I just did 1 or 2 chapters, and she was satisfied with my work. And then it went on. Like the transcripts were already available, like of her classes. Then for the first 5 or 6 volumes, she would do the first version. She herself used to do. Then slowly she was having more of responsibilities at Savitri Bhavan. Her health was not also very good, and she was having lots of other issues. So I offered to do the first version also. Making the first draft, and then I will pass it on to her, and we will pass it between us for 5 or 6 times, each chapter, the same. So I got an opportunity to read the same thing many times over, and that was my, what do I say, that was a great blessing that I can have. I'm eternally grateful to, otherwise I wouldn't have even read Savitri in full. I was, as you know, the first chapter is the first canto is the most difficult. If you read the first page, okay, you will never turn to the second page because it's so difficult. I was feeling that way. And of course, I have reading prose, I was not having that difficulty. I had read Life Divine and everything, but not Savitri. But after being associated with this project, I read it many times, and Shraddhavan's explanation also, and it was a very fulfilling work for me. Eternally grateful to Shraddhavan and all members of Savitri Bhavan team for giving this opportunity. Thank you. Yes. Everything, I cannot single out one thing, especially if you read this present volume, this book 6, Book of Fate.
Excuse me, you want to speak? Please.
Good evening. As a newcomer to Auroville and to Savitri, I think the feeling I have today is a huge amount of envy for all those of you who've worked together with Shraddhavan and on the book Savitri. So I've been reading little parts of Savitri because I'm too eager to finish it. So I cannot go from beginning to end. So I'm jumping and reading, and I have a beautiful piece over here, which I hope I can read. It's about the composition of Savitri, a rapture of the thrilled, undying word. It says, oft inspiration with her lightning feet, a sudden messenger from the all-seeing tops. Aurobindo talks about the all-seeing tops. He talks about all bliss. Traversed, so this sudden messenger from the all-seeing tops traversed the soundless corridors of his mind, bringing her rhythmic sense of hidden things. That was so beautiful. A music spoke transcending mortal speech, the music that came from far, like a mantra comes from far. This music transcends the speech of humans, as if from golden fuel of the all bliss, a joy of light, a joy of sudden sight, a picture of the thrilled, undying word, poured into his heart as into an empty cup, a repetition of God's first delight creating in a young and virgin time. So he likens this inspiration that comes in the composition of Savitri to God's first delight before creation in virgin time. How delighted God might have been. That is the delight he felt. To have worked on this work is something very, very enviable. So I really envy all of you who've known them, who've been part of their lives, and who've worked on this piece. Thank you.
So is it Puchika now?
I'm concluding. I wanted to say something about Shraddhavan. We were colleagues, so we knew each other. We would meet every day for many years, 7 to 8 years together. And towards the end, we went through a lot of trouble. Shraddhavan faced tremendous difficulties those years. That was, we called it the first revolution in Auroville. I'm talking about late 70s, or Satprem's, this thing. Somewhat like that, you know. Tremendous. We left Auroville. Anand and I, we left Auroville because the school got dismantled. Anand went to do his MA and whatever, PhD. I went back to the ashram. She was here. And what she had gone through, I know. Almost singled. Some of her students are here now, I can see. Our dear Miriam is here. Her father was also, they have also gone through, faced. What I want to say is that, but she, you know, kind of endured all of it very stoically, with tremendous patience, like a real good sadhika. Then we all came out of it, and it was many years later. Then this Huta used to tell me things, how she was receptive to taking care of all the things of the mother's paintings by Huta, that for, you know, about 2 decades that she did with the mother, everything, all the original works. Remember, Huta was in the ashram. She could have given it to ashram. But I know Huta a little because she used to be very fond of Anand, and very often she would call Anand to her. And I came to know many things from Huta. So, and it's not easy to work with Huta. It's very, very difficult. She was a person, a great person, no doubt, a great Adhar, a great receptive person, but she was also a very difficult person. So what Shraddhavan has gone through there also is something fantastic, I should say. But all this kind of, you know, gave her the experience. But what I want to actually say is that then everything came round, and, you know, our Savitri Bhavan came up, and as Anand was talking about the first classes of Life Divine under the tree and all that. And then after that, how the whole thing grew, and how Helmut built the whole thing, and how this is the only institution in the whole of Auroville which has been dealing with the studies of Sri Aurobindo's works, everything. And what is remarkable of her, and a few others, I would also name them, is that, you know, through whatever they have gone through in life, but they have not forgotten their mission, you know. And this work that we see of hers, which is the last volume today released by our dear Alok, is the proof of that. To work in this dimension is not easy at all, and with a frailing health. And she has had a frailing health. You see, I am a minimum 5 years younger to her, and she used to tell me she is having this problem, and she was taking what beta carotene and this and that. That was many, many years back. You know. And I felt so grateful when I came to know she is in the ashram, and that was because of Alok. I felt so grateful to him, I tell you. And Alok is one of them, you know. He is a multiple, as you all know, personality. He's a teacher, he's a doctor, he's a speaker, he's a writer, and he doesn't waste 5 minutes of his life, just like Shraddhavan. Or maybe I can even name my own husband, Anand. These are the people, you know, who are, I mean, there, if he is the doctor, so he sits on his chair, and when nobody comes, I mean, patients are not there all the time, no? He wouldn't waste 5 minutes, he's writing something or reading something. That's how today we run to hear what he is talking, or we hear him on the, how do you call? Mobile, no? YouTube and all that. Why? Because this absorbed knowledge, this passion, you know, first for experiencing themselves and then sharing it with others. Shraddhavan was one like that. She suffered. She suffered, actually, very honestly, she suffered a lot. I know those days. And then after that, she comes out like a jewel. And then she produces this work and other works. I was wanting to tell Helmut the other day that we have spoken quite a few times. She used to say, Deepshika, everybody talks of Sri Aurobindo's writings. Nobody talks about the mother's books. Why don't you come and take mother's books? And we tried also 2-3 times. I said, okay, I will start with the volume on yoga. That will be very nice. But somehow we didn't have a very good response, Helmut. That's why we had to stop. And then she used to say, I don't know why people, when you talk about life divine, when you talk about this and that, people come. But when it comes to mother's conversations, there's so much to learn from them. Why is it that they don't come? And I was just going to share with him that thing. Anyway, that is something different. But this is what I wanted to say, that there's a lot to learn from such lives, you know. Life passes so fast. We don't understand year after the year. We say, oh my God, this happened in 2012, this happened in 2014, and now it's 2023. But how much we have really been able to do. I'm not only talking about the outside work or inner work. What I mean to say, anything that we can do the best for the work of Mother and Sri Aurobindo to be promoted, or to be, like Mother had told Anand, that you explain so that people can read the original Sri Aurobindo. And there have been also many people that Mother said that you read, you don't need anybody's assistance. So it's all to different people. But today when we hear Alok explaining something, it becomes easier for us. It touches us somewhere within. Oh, I've understood this concept. He has spoken so beautifully. That has its own value, actually. So we have to understand our own Swadharma, what we are here for, and let us be able to do that, like what Shraddhavan was an example of. I just wanted to share this.
So thank you very much for all of you to coming to our little ceremony today. I think we all go home very happily after it. That's for Rema. From whom? Kavita. From whom is this gift?
That is from you, our Savitri Bhavan team.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, thank you for coming. Thank you. Yeah, we meet on Friday, and in between you give me some details so that we can announce it very briefly. Yeah? Make a little flyer or something. Thank you. Thank you for coming. You have transport, yeah? And you find the way out.
I will send you the poster of what I'm going to speak here next July. In case you
We will talk it out.